final honor of the evening. For nearly 6 decades, John Barger has been working in service to the broadcast industry at every level. Starting in radio at WTAW in Bryan College Station, he learned the ropes quickly and well enough to land in the inner circle of the legendary Gordon McClendon. As though that weren't a big enough achievement for such a young guy, John took a break from radio to work in the office of the President Lyndon Johnson, where he sharpened his already keen eye for political strategy, which has served our industry extraordinarily well ever since. Understanding the drive that distinguishes mere mortals from these iconic Texas business titans that we know so well, John Barger built Clear Channel Communications, now iHeartMedia, from a group of 12 stations to the mega group it became. And he helped broadcasters all over Texas negotiate deals to build their own station groups. Representing Texas on the NAB Board of Directors for dozens of years, John wielded his influence to help the radio industry, expanding the uses for translators and organizing the effort to get the FCC to double the power of Class A FMs. His service on the Radio Music Licensing Committee saved broadcasters $1.2 billion over the course of their contracts. In 1987, as chairman of the TAB Board of Directors, he recruited my predecessor and mentor, Ann Arnold, as president, who transformed TAB into an advocacy powerhouse. And then he got right to work helping her kill an ad tax. From there, he helped start the Public Education Partnership Program, which is now TAB's largest revenue stream. John later spearheaded the fundraising campaign for the construction of the TAB building, our permanent home in downtown Austin, steps from the Capitol, and now known as the Ann Arnold Center. When it comes down to it, few people have done more to shape the Texas broadcast industry and TAB's lobbying efforts than John Barger. I think one of the first phone calls I ever answered when I started at TAB in 1994 was from John. I'll admit it, he was more than a little intimidating. Other people have stories like that. They had told me. But I quickly learned that this man knew his stuff and then some. He was gruff and in a hurry, but not so much that he wouldn't take the time to listen, assess, and advise, even with a newbie like me. We very quickly hit it off. And ever since, he has continued to be generous with his heart, his time, and his counsel, which I can attest remains as valuable as ever. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, join me in celebrating our 2024 Lifetime Achievement Award winner, John Barger.
Thank you anyway. Seriously. My first association with TAB dates back to my years in Dallas working for McClendon. And I got a call from the successful manager of KLIF, which by that time was the #1 station in Dallas-Fort Worth. And he said, "Why aren't we members of TAB?" Damn if I know. Well, I just got a call from a guy that runs Channel 11 over at the independent television station that had an independent way of running things. They stopped their movie at 9 o'clock at night to give you a 4-minute newscast. and then picked up the rest of the movie. But anyway, I think his last name was Terrell. But he was active in TAB, and he'd been purposed to get radio stations in Dallas also interested in the TAB. Bonner McLean, who was the executive director of TAB and ran an advertising agency in Austin on the side, and asked him to try to just get everybody together and see what happens. And so I checked and I said, I don't think there's anything wrong with it, Al. Why don't we sneak down there? I know old man McClendon's not happy with the NAB. They haven't given him anything that he really wanted. So let's see if we can do some pioneer stepping at the TAB. Zoom. We went down, didn't announce where we were going or why we were going. And our cover story was going to be we were going to look at new equipment for KLIF. At an activity very similar to this. As it worked out though, we both got engaged in the interest of things that were going politically that we weren't at all aware of. We always busted a gut to see if we could get a 20 share or a 30 share in Hooper, Nielsen, or whoever was out there measuring. And doing a little bit of community organization on the side. And I said, we need to do more of this. I was in a position as general counsel where I could kind of push it through and encourage the McClendons, father and son, and said, it'll probably look a little better on the FCC reports on us and our activities in the community if we're active in the Texas Association. And so that was the beginning. And I know this is a dry run through for you, but I really want to stress this. Each of you find somebody on your staff or find somebody that competes with you in the market and invite them to come with you to sit in, do it with clearance in advance, to take a chair, a non-voting or non-participatory role in the TAB weekly or monthly meeting of the board of directors and see what the organization actually is about and what they do. Because I think we've failed at times to not toot our own horn within our own industry. And just as it was a great awakening for me, I made friendships that took me through a number of years of broadcasting and took me through successfully. And I would not have made those bonds had it not been for my activity in the TAB. A perfect example was I met a guy named George Marty, a real interesting guy. And with Marty, he always told the same story twice at least. I've now warned my family that as I have hit my 83rd year, that whenever I start with the second time through the same story, to hold 2 fingers. That's the morning that I need to absent myself from the place. But anyway, when I left Clear Channel, I had a number of opportunities, not the least of which was going to Cleveland and telling 4 guys from Dallas who had bought a station in Cleveland and not knowing anything about the community, except they all happened to be Jewish and they attended the same temple in Dallas. And what their Friday night, late night exercise was, what are we going to get into next? And they got interested in radio, and the only thing that was for sale was Cleveland. So they went up to Cleveland, and a friend of mine, Jimmy Stansel, if you guys work in Dallas, you knew Jimmy. They hired Jimmy, and Jimmy took them off in one direction, and they got rid of Jimmy, and so they called me and said, what do we do with the radio station? So I went up there and made a bunch of notes and told them what I would suggest, and that they had, unfortunately, leased out about 90% of their time for a pittance. It was like all those stations that run those wonderful opportunities on Sunday afternoon. You know the ones I'm talking about, where you can drive a truck through their availabilities. and so I knew up the idea of being a consultant, and and came back and went over to work with, and I'll be quick with all of this because you got most of the crowning achievements and misses that I went through. I moved from McClendon over to KLD Radio and called out Herb Humphreys, who was the news director of KMOX Television. And Herb grew up in Gladewater, Texas. Let me hear it for all you Northeast Texas people. And the inventor of the Westinghouse news wheel, give us 28 minutes and we'll give you the world. At one time, that was the logo of all Westinghouse news talk radio stations. And that was before there was any Rush Limbaugh or anybody else doing that kind of act at the time. And I had a good time there, and I learned how to do news talk with the help of some really good people like Frank Gleamer was our sports director. And I bid for the rights to the Dallas Cowboys and got them. And had the opportunity to work with Tex Schramm for the season after they won the Super Bowl. And shared the urinal from time to time on road games with Roger Staubach. And because we always had to check the engineering that went through the locker room, the very same locker room to see was there. I'm getting a hurry up and quick from Darla. What's y'all to meet my charming blonde if you haven't already. Darla was the lead broker for the Dominion, which is the university of, what's it comparable to in Dallas? Highland Park. That's it, the Highland Park of San Antonio. And she was a charming person, and I fell in love with her, and the rest is history like that. But she stuck by me, and I've stuck by her. And one of the activities I had with her was taking out what they call riders, which are those little two-pegged real estate deals that say for sale or FISBO, which means for sale by owner.
Another really tall bird.
That's 1, 2, 3, 4. It's all right, this is playing. Thank you, Okay, let's see, I've covered that. Hello, ring. Here we got a little reverb here, so I'll move back off the mic. Short time, two guys from San Antonio came up to Dallas and said, you want to come to San Antonio? Which used to be a beer stop when I was in law school between Austin and Nuevo Laredo. And I said, hey, I don't know. Maybe yes, maybe so. And, I said, what you got in mind? And they said, well, we have a 50,000 watt radio station that you can hear in Canada and you can hear it in Japan. You know, with the nighttime heterodynes and all that that's go across, that you have that. And it's real attractive for preachers. And so I say we built the success of the early success of Clear Channel off of greeting friends around the world. This is the world tomorrow. How many of you guys ran at 5 o'clock in the morning and at 8:30 at night? But they paid quickly, and we put that to work and bought 110 radio stations in the state and just kept moving, and it all worked out pretty well. And so what I want to leave you with, I want to leave you with an introduction to my family. And you've met Darla. And over here is my son Jason, who is an attorney in Universal City, which is a big suburb that serves the Randolph Air Force Base area in San Antonio. And his charming wife, Christy. And my 3 grandsons, we'll take them in reverse order of their birth. 4, We Andrew one thing? Oh, I'm talking about his family. Okay. And there's that Anson is, if you pitch him high and tight, he's liable to lay down blood on you because he's a very successful catcher in baseball. And that's Adrian, who is not a bad golfer at all, and you probably see him on the tour in, what do you figure, another 5 months, 5 weeks? Okay. And as we move around the end of the table, and we've got the number 1 son of Jason's bunch, and always starting with an A. So the big A is right here.
Yeah, Anthony's
Anthony,
doing great.
that's right. Thank you for the help.
Doing great.
And because Darla has asked me to accompany her on a couple of her worldwide trips coming up before I turn 84, which is too old to be let loose on a boat. We're going to be making some changes to the home office, and one of the changes is going to lead me to be of counsel to Jason's law firm in Universal City, advising on communications matters. And I'll introduce you to my daughter. There's Karen, and her crew, Delaney, granddaughter, Justice, grandson, of whom I'm terribly proud.
Yeah.
And so that gives you the whole list of and Karen, starting next week, is going to be the Chief Operating Officer of Barker Broadcast Services. We do brokerage and we do consulting. And so that's the name of the game, and we'll send you postcards, because we love you, from various stops, and where there's not a war going on for the next 4 weeks, we hope we'll do. But seriously, take home with you that one thought that I started with and should have repeated it twice and sat down a long time ago, which is to invite people that are worthy because they know a little bit about our industry, they know a little bit about our trials and tribulations, that you think would be a good member, a good voting member, a good attending member, and then possibly a good lobbyist locally, because our success is built on the connections that you make with your community through the various charities that you engage with actively, and good things that you do, and occasionally the discourse your news department has with elected public officials or people that aspire to do that. In any way, you're plugged in, and we are the grassroots for the entire broadcast industry. And if you don't think that's important, you just go through a list of congressmen in front of as few people as we've got here, and you'll get 3 people on each one saying, I know that guy, I went to high school with him, whatever. And it's not a matter, you don't give money just to buy a vote. You might give money to just get access, because you always have to go in through one side, either the political side, or the campaign side, or the service side of as a constituent. But you wind up doing the same thing, reminding him that we're active, alive, and he or she ought to give us at least equal consideration on the issues that are very important. He's going to elaborate very shortly about how you put this into activity as an action item. But thank you very much. And thank you for this acknowledgement.
I could not have said it better myself, John. You're absolutely correct. You're absolutely correct. every single one of you in this room is an extraordinarily powerful lobbyist and advocate for our industry